finally saw the new Superman film. I know I'm super late to the party, everyone's already seen it, the topic has been covered and the hype is over, but here I am. I've seen Superman. More like super woke, am I right, boys? A story about an alien saving America and thus the world? A story where yet again the straight white male billionaire is the villain.
I think it's awfully convenient that this illegal immigrant just happens to be the most powerful person in the world. That is extremely woke.
Obviously, these are not things I actually think about the film, or I wouldn't have used my flawless Ben Shapiro voice to say them. No, I thought it was really enjoyable. It was action-packed, heartfelt, thematically strong, and just a really fun movie. Now, before I dive into my specific thoughts about the film, I do have a big reveal for you guys. So, anyone that's seen my Snyderverse video would know that I was coming at that one from a general audience angle. Lots of people in the comments didn't really get that, but that's beside the point. And it's not true anymore, because between then and now, I've actually read a bunch of Superman comics. These include, but are not limited to, All-Star Superman, Birthright, For All Seasons, Up in the Sky, Secret Identity, Infinite Crisis, DC 1 Million, Kingdom Come. I'm not an expert, but I feel I do have a much better grasp now on Superman as a character, some of his villains, the world he inhabits, and just the general themes of his struggles. So, I'm a nerd now. I was a nerd before, but I feel like reading comic books is like taking another step up, okay? I'm proud of that. I also feel like I'm probably more knowledgeable now than the average general audience member. With all that out of the way, I think James Gunn and David Corenswet have created a really fantastic, faithful, modernized, and hope-inspiring version of this iconic character. Superman is a constant beacon of optimism, trust, and hope in this film. Spoilers for Superman, obviously, but the movie opens right after he's just got his ass kicked, and then he goes straight back in for another serving. The man is relentless. It's made very clear that Superman's biggest strength in this movie is not his literal strength. When he's fighting the big adorable demon kaiju, he could probably easily kill it, but he doesn't. He's looking specifically to take it somewhere alive so he can study it, and he's also looking for ways that he can protect the buildings and people around him as he fights it. It's clear that he cares about Metropolis, he cares about the people in it, he cares about saving lives. That's punk rock. Speaking of saving lives, Superman saves so many people in this film, and those are the absolute best parts of seeing him use his powers. There's a fantastic shot of him saving a little girl, another one of him holding up a building while a woman drives out from under it, and a whimsically wonderful shot of Superman saving a single squirrel that I'm really glad they kept in. We even see his need to save people get him into trouble with preventing the Baravian invasion. I get why people would look up to Superman in this universe, and I get why they'd look up to him in real life too. He is a kind, uncompromising, empathetic hero for everyone, and I think that really tracks with all the comics I've read. It seems to be a very faithful interpretation of the character. The one negative thing I will say about his characterization in this film is that we didn't really get a lot of time with Clark Kent. So he wears civilian clothes a fair bit, but he doesn't really put on the Clark Kent persona more than about once. It's not a huge gripe, but I really would have liked to see a little bit more of David Corenswet's duality in the role. Personally, I think he's second only to Christopher Reeves, who is just so perfect at flipping back and forth between the two. Naturally, villains are really important in comic book movies, so I'm very happy to say that Nicholas Hoult is an absolute S-tier hater in this film. I thought he did a great job as Lex Luthor. He was exactly the kind of smarmy, underhanded prick that I thought that a modern Lex Luthor would end up being. Ruthless, cunning, and clearly not afraid to follow through, I thought he was a really great villain for the start of this universe, and I'm glad that they skipped all of the origin stuff. It's not just Clark and Lex either. I think everyone is pretty much perfectly cast. Lois Lane is grounded and highly skilled, and that interview scene with Clark, that was great. It felt like a really good indication of things to come. Jimmy Olsen is an amusing but genuinely skilled sidekick, and Mr. Terrific is a complete standout badass. I cannot wait to see more of him. In fact, the whole Justice Gang was just really fun to watch. It felt good to hit the ground running and have an established universe already existing. Guy Gardner was pleasantly douchey, and Hawkgirl was based as hell for assassinating old mate. Just good stuff all around. Stylistically, this film is very James Gunn, for better and for worse. If you like his filmmaking style, then you're going to enjoy the visuals, tone, and humour in this one too. And if you don't, then you're probably not going to have a great time. Personally, I think that, like most other superhero films that have ever been made, it suffered a little bit in the pacing department. It was a tiny bit overstuffed, and there were some more weighty, dramatic moments that I thought they could have let breathe a little longer. It also was tonally strong, but I think it could have taken itself a little bit more seriously. There were a few times where I thought that big emotional moments were a tiny bit undercut with a joke. That's a general criticism of James Gunn that applies to this movie as well. In terms of cinematography, it has this almost anti-voyeuristic style, which I heavily associate with James Gunn's filmmaking. You know you're watching a movie, and the way the camera moves is quite smooth and flashy and distinctive. I think it really works for a comic book movie. It probably wouldn't for more serious ones, but it gave it a slick feel that paired well with the bright, colourful, and sun-soaked visuals. It's a really good-looking film. Metropolis looks great, the visual effects are basically flawless, and, for once, I didn't hate a mid-air fight scene. They managed to give it a bit of weight, to balance the idea of two flying opponents with the need to interact with actual objects. Look, I could go on for quite a bit longer about the specifics of this film, but I don't think I'll be adding a whole lot that people haven't already said before. Suffice it to say, it's not a perfect movie with its tonal pacing and slight overstuffing issues, but it's one that I enjoyed, and I think it's a really solid start to the DCU. I liked it thematically, politically, visually, and it's just a fun time. It made me really keen to see more characters in this world, and more of the world that they're creating in general. So I could just leave the video there and call it a day, but obviously I'm not going to do that. In June last year, I posted a video where I bitched and moaned about how much I don't like the Snyderverse. As of recording, that video has over 580,000 views. First of all, that's insane. Secondly, it means that many of you will have come to my channel and probably this video from that Snyderverse video. So I feel like it's my duty to go back and check in on the Snyderbros, see how they're doing, see what they're up to now that the DCU has officially begun. For all the diehard Snyder fans out there watching this video, you probably don't need to watch this next part. I don't think you'll enjoy it. Given that I spend a bit of time on the internet as it is, I'd already seen a few interesting posts about this film before I did my serious research. Many of these posts precede the film's opening, so the Snyderbros were determined to dislike this film before they'd even seen it. Before anyone had seen it. This guy laments the criticism that Cavill's Superman got about being too broody. Peak hypocrisy. He's referenced a tweet that has 4 screen grabs from the trailer. 2 of them show Superman brooding, and actually only one of them really shows him brooding. This other one looks a lot more like he's angry or frustrated. The other 2 aren't broody at all. In the first one he's injured, and in the last one he's smiling. Luckily, posts like this do get downvoted, even in r/Snyder Cut. That doesn't stop other like-minded people from agreeing, however. There are plenty of comments on all of these posts that share this same overzealous mentality. It also doesn't stop moderators from removing comments for being critical of Zack Snyder and his work, but that's another issue altogether. This guy screenshotted some VFX shots from the trailer to claim that DC and Warner Brothers have made this movie too silly, goofy, and cheap. This guy watched a YouTube video from someone else who read a leak. Watched a YouTube video from someone else who saw a social media post from someone else who read a leak from someone else about Lex Luthor releasing Jor-El and Lara's message. The first comment here calls the movie a piece of crap, a total mess, and absolute trash. Again, all before it was actually released. Then he goes on to say he won't give it a chance and is instead going to paste spoilers wherever he can. The level of cope here is truly incredible to behold. That last guy in particular is extremely unhinged. A quick glance at his post and comment history will show you that he is beyond obsessed with the failure of this film and seems to think there is evidence for this insane claim here. Super Candidate 7809. if you're watching this video, I am legitimately pleading for you to go and touch some grass and get some help. I hope you're safe and happy. Then, of course, we have this wonderful review, which not only gets many of the movie's events wrong, but makes some interesting political claims as well. Look, it's not a perfect movie, and I'm sure people will legitimately dislike it, but this seems a little much. Kind of like making an hour-long video hating on a cinematic universe that's already over. Look, the irony of me commenting on this, people, is not lost on me, but I promise, I try to engage with the films that I critique. Unlike this commenter who thinks Superman 2025 was made to indoctrinate children into being kind, I guess, into saving lives. Obviously, it's not an indoctrination machine, especially when you compare it to other superhero films used as vessels to advertise the military, but if it were, I'm not sure what exactly its purpose would be. Oh, and another commenter says that if I think this movie is better than Man of Steel, my gene pool should be erased from the planet. A very normal reaction to subjective opinions. Jesus Christ, this sub is an absolute mess. Even the Critical Drinker subreddit is handling this movie better than you guys, and as established, it's so woke that it turned my unborn children gay. Okay, but that's just a few unhinged people, and they usually get downvoted anyway. Well, let's not forget about the wallets closed hashtag, which not only seeks to boycott what they refer to as superflop, but is also still trying to bring back Zack Snyder. People, you've got to move on. I get it, you loved these movies, and clearly they're stylistically unique enough to justify having their cult status, and there's obviously something to like about them, but this is genuinely pathetic. I guess we're all just gonna collectively ignore the more than $610 million that Superman made and then shift the goalposts to hashtag wallets closed for Supergirl, and then whatever movie comes next, I guess we're hashtag wallets closed for Man of Tomorrow too. What about another fan favorite? Hashtag superflop. They've been using it through the film's entire run, saying that it wouldn't break even, and then that it wouldn't hit 600 million, and now that it won't beat Man of Steel. Finally, we've landed on something. Yeah, it won't beat Man of Steel. You won that one, Snyderbros. But thankfully, it's been well received by audiences and critics alike, and they're moving forward with the DCU regardless of how it flopped harder than The Flash. Oh wait, now just to head off a particular nothing burger of a criticism that I might get, I'm not some rabid James Gunn superfan. I don't know him personally, I have no investment in him as a person. Hell, I haven't even seen all of his movies. I haven't watched The Suicide Squad or Peacemaker, although having watched Superman, I kind of want to now. My point is, I'm not just praising this film because I don't like Zack Snyder, or James Gunn paid me, or something. I just enjoyed it. That's it. So, that just about wraps up this episode of Why the Fuck Am I Still Torturing Myself with This Community? I hope we can all agree that whatever you thought of Superman or whatever you think of James Gunn, that this fresh start to the DCU is an exciting opportunity to tell a bunch of new, cool stories. Maybe they'll suck. Who knows? Maybe they'll be the greatest comic book movies ever made. I'm not going to judge them before I see them, though. All I know is I'm keen for Supergirl and I'm keen for Man of Tomorrow. That was a very exciting announcement. I do have one final thought before I leave you, and that's that Crypto was fantastic. Every scene with Crypto in it was great, and he is a damn good dog. Anyway, that's all I have for this one. I feel like I need to go and wash my eyes out with vinegar from doing all of that research on the Snyderbros. Let me know if you enjoyed this one and if you're interested in seeing similar content in the future. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.